Highway Massacre. You don't even know me, but everybody see you. You say Highway Massacre. Highway Massacre. You don't even know me, but everybody see you. You say Highway Massacre. Highway Massacre.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the Unfiltered Chat. Here with somebody I don't think a lot of people know. It's somebody that just, I'm trying to assist in helping, to grow their repertoire. Of course, I'm talking absolute bullshit. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Hersoff. How are you doing, Rob?
Ronaldo, I'm good. I'm sitting here in Hermanus. I drove up for the day and the night to see my parents. Dad's 98, turning 99, and my mum is 91. And I had a fantastic dinner. It was they cooked it, so it was toast, soup, grapes, and it was delicious.
So
But I'm looking out of the window here.
Is what you're
I'm
saying.
looking out the window here, and I've seen some whales spouting, and people go, "There are no whales this time of the year." There are. There are four types of whales.
You just saw them.
And the bride's whales stay here 24/7 year round, so I can see them spurting. But yes,
That's
my parents
amazing.
are spring chickens.
And
Chickens. Just
Hermanus is a perfect example of a small little town that made the best of what they have. I mean, if I had to tell you that Nelson Mandela Bay is the bottlenose dolphin capital of the world, would you know that? I mean, I'm assuming you would, but the average person. And yet we don't have any, little ships that go out and show tourists that. But yeah, all right. So, Rob, tell me a little bit, just briefly, about what made you decide to step back from, or not step back, but move from business in which you've been very successful. And I'm not going to go into details here. People can go on to Wikipedia and find all of that information out. I want to do something different here. Sorry?
I don't have a wiki. Actually, somebody wrote a wiki for me this morning. Because I don't have one, and they said you need one. I read it. Said,
So what has been, and it's amazing that you don't have a wiki page. I mean, that blows my mind. Can you hear me?
okay, so I wasn't on social media at all until I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, there's clearly a delay.
Ronaldo?
So yes, I can hear you, but I'll just it'll ease into it. So you can just continue talking and then hopefully it'll ease out.
Apologies. So I wasn't on social media at all until 5 weeks ago. I wasn't on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I didn't have a YouTube channel, niente, and I never did. And it was really because it was right at the beginning. My wife said, you're overconnected as it is, too many people. Why do you want to have people saying we went to school together? I want to be in touch and like and dislike. I said, you're right. So I never did social media. I ended up with about 100 WhatsApp groups, but that's another story.
Okay, so I think there's once again a delay.
So,
sorry, Rob. I just thinking if you're on Wi-Fi, can you maybe just make it LTE or 5G, if possible?
February the 3rd.
I think let's give Rob a chance just to perhaps log out and back in again. But welcome to everybody. Be sure to smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Rob, I think you are back. I'm not too sure about the delay, but it's definitely, I think, perhaps the Wi-Fi signals there in Hermanus.
Okay.
Testing?
Back.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Is that okay?
It is. It just depends on what the delay is like. Otherwise, I think it's better than just to disconnect and reconnect.
Okay, shall I come on my cell phone?
Yes, I think that might be better. Imagine if we had Starlink.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna just let it come to me. There we go. So, All right, everybody, welcome. I know that we started a little bit earlier. I just want to make sure that everything is working, and now you know, because it's still 5 minutes to go before the stream is supposed to start. There we go,
Okay,
Rob.
how's
There we
that?
go. That's a lot better. Yes, there we go.
Okay, apologies to your viewers. So I basically was saying to you that I've never been on social media, never.
Yeah,
And there were two reasons. The one was my wife said it's bloody stupid, this whole Instagram, Facebook stuff, which it really is. I mean, I'm posting pictures of, me and a speeder on the beach is going to scare everybody away. And this was till 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, I went on X.
Mm.
And then February the 3rd, I launched my YouTube channel. It's not even a month, okay? And then 2 days ago, the friends of mine that are kind of pulling all this together for me, my social media, added Twitter, well, no, that is X, Facebook, Instagram, everything else. So I'm now on everything. But I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to actually have it on my phone. I'm not allowed to press post. I'm not allowed to do anything because my wife's condition correctly was it's dangerous enough me being on social media with all the content I produce. But for me to actually be able to write something and press send is going to end in a disaster. I will
Yeah.
do and say something with the family and I will regret forever. So I've got to send stuff to Nick French, Dylan Van Zyl, sometimes to my wife, and they go yes or no, and they post it or they don't. So
And that's
letting
the
you know.
best. That's the best advice, because in South Africa, you see something that just makes your blood boil, and of course we've got so many victims, people that want to be outraged, and people that want to create controversy. So of course that is going to happen. But I have to say, yeah, I mean, I think that is why. Look, I remember. I think it was either just as COVID struck or either just a little bit after. That is when I became aware of you starting to speak out against, the government and what is happening in this country. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but what made you decide to take that leap from business owner, business mogul, multi-billionaire, to suddenly deciding I want to give my input on politics?
In Rand. Let me get that billionaire thing straight. In Rand, but I'm aiming for dollars. And
That's fine.
may
I
well
think
do it.
that's terms and conditions. It's a small print.
Exactly. What happened was I always enjoyed standing up and telling jokes. I always enjoyed being the leader of the pack, saying, guys, we're going to do this tonight. That was my nature. I'm a kind of outgoing, joke telling idiot, in the room. And that translated into public speaking, so I was massively overeducated, thanks to my parents, UCT, Harvard Business School, blah, blah, blah. Love the English language, read poetry, write poetry, read a million books. And I like public speaking. So I'm always the guy that can't help myself when there's, at a dinner, I'll stand up and say something and make everyone laugh. And that has led to where I am, because in reality, I always loved public speaking. I got invited to speak at business conferences and things, always about business. And during COVID, I started, I'd come back to South Africa and I realized I had these incredible friends overseas, Piers Morgan, Bob Diamond, Ruud Gullit. I can go on and on and on, Lee Westwood. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun in COVID to get some of these guys on audio and then on video and just talk to them, have a chat. It was like the early days of podcasts in my brain. And a lot of people logged on. It was in the hundreds, maybe 1,000 was the biggest one. And I had just interviewed these people and really enjoyed it. But everything sort of led to, so Rob, what's going on in South Africa? Jeremy Clarkson, I remember, I did it from Hermanus. He's like, Rob, I used to go to South Africa, but it seems like it's falling apart. And I began commentating on South Africa. And then I got invited to speak at business conferences. And 3 years ago, at the BizNews business conference in the Drakensberg, I was invited to speak. And I was the morning speaker on the second day or the third day. And before me had been Musi Maimane, Helen Zeller, and then incredible old Michael old boy, which I am too, called Jason McCormick. Jason McCormick's family owned shopping malls in all, on the side of, townships and less affluent areas. And he did the most incredible speech. You go back and find it, where he tracked on the one part of every slide had a what day it was, what hour it was, and how many WhatsApp messages he got. And it went from, because he was running the business, and you'd get a few WhatsApps an hour. It went from a couple of WhatsApps an hour. It ended up being hundreds and hundreds of WhatsApps an hour as his shopping malls got attacked.
Wow.
And he said, unlike Rob Hersov, I never went to the army, but I had to learn how to run a military style organization in 48 hours because we were being attacked. These guys were coming in and knocking out our water and our power. Half our people had no idea who to call. The police were not there. The police and army did not step up. And we had to recruit from the local people, the taxi drivers, people who believed they wanted to keep the area safe to defend our shopping malls. And I think they had 6 shopping malls burned to the ground and 2 badly destroyed. And they were defending these, like guys shooting with rifles from the roof to defend shopping malls. And it pissed me off. You know, I was in KZN hearing about this, you know, the riots, and it just pissed me off. And that night I lay in bed thinking, this country, really. And when I got up on stage, you know, Warren Wheatley, a buddy of mine, and Andrew Jarvie, another buddy of mine, had said separately as I walked in the room, come on, Rob, you've got to hit this hard. And I stood up. I had notes, but I barely looked at them. And I think the first sentence I said was, under the ANC, South Africa is uninvestable. And anyone still voting for the ANC is a moron. Sentence number 1. And then I named names and went nuts. I called Fikile and Balula. I said he was unemployable, he's an idiot. I said the Mpofu family are the absolute disgrace. You know, and I went on and on and on. I just lost the plot. And in those days, it would take 10 days or so to put videos live. Now, you know, you're live, right? We're not live right now. Others, it's a couple of hours or the next day to edit it. And, you know, Moosie's came out and Jason's came out and Helen's came out. And I thought, maybe I was a bit wild and maybe Alex going to pull it, you know. Maybe I should call him and just ask him, maybe it's not a good thing to put this out because a lot of people are watching these things.
Yeah.
And wow, next Sunday, my phone rang off the hook. I had people threatening me, calling me names. You know, somebody said, if you ever come up to Johannesburg, every young person is going to come for you. And then I had people calling and say, wow, well done. But the call that made the difference, after my wife hugged me and said, I'm very proud of you, is my father. And my father called me and he said, you know, Rob, I watched that speech and I've never been more proud of you for saying and doing what other people can't afford to say and do.
Wow.
And from then on, every negative criticism, I just went.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
And then the racist card gets thrown at you. People, you know, and Dile Mngwa, whatever his last name is, of Black Land, puts this Twitter out, it was Twitter then, and said, a picture of me said, we must kill this green-eyed devil. And I went to like 30,000 people. You know, there's some nasty stuff, racist, her sort of things. And then Musi Maimane, Vusi Tembakwayo, Sivan Gesi, Gayton McKenzie, and Enoch Gonagdwana, our finance minister, all in a matter of days, went onto public record and said, you may not like this guy or what he's saying. He's not a racist, leave him alone. And from then on, you know, the people who just hated me and never going to talk to me, I got over them. You know, I used to get invited to big golf tournaments. I don't get invited anymore. Most of the corporate chieftains in this country don't take my call. Anton Pillay of Coronation, I'm naming names, avoided me at Steenberg 10 days ago. He couldn't find a faster way to get away from me. And I called him and said, Anton, what's wrong? Let's play golf. Secretary said, no, he's got a really sore back. I was like, well, he must have hurt it that day.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, grow some spine. And from then on, you realize, you know, it's not like I felt I had a calling. I just knew I was good at it. And I was going to say and do what other people couldn't afford to say and do. And it's been a rough ride. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have 20,000 employees. I don't have unions barking at me. I can't be fired. I can be deplatformed, but I don't really care anymore. Bishop's deplatformed me, the school. I'm just keeping going. In fact, like you, I'm upping my game.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to unpack there, which I think is fascinating. Look, you didn't step onto the scene. You exploded onto the scene in typical Rob fashion, as I've come to know now. I'll be very honest with you. when I saw, I think there was some or other thing that you might have released before the Biz News thing that I went, oh, okay, a wealthy rich kid that's got an opinion, blah, great, okay. The one thing, he's got money but he doesn't have fame, so he's chasing that. And then that Biz News came out, and I was like, okay, whoa, this is something different.
Yeah.
And then after that, you obviously followed up with a lot of interviews, and I got to know who and what Rob Hersov is. And yeah, we get the, you're a racist because, I mean, if you're a white individual with an opinion in this country, you automatically firstly assumed racist, and then you have to prove that you're not. The one thing I'm fascinated by, though, that I didn't know was Andile Mngxitama saying the stuff that he did about you. Now, let me just ask you, and then you can speak broader about, the state of politics. But how does it make you feel to know that somebody that literally threatened your life on social media is now a member of parliament that creates legislation in this country?
Well, I'll tell you how that ended. I was sitting at the Vineyard having a chat to when Gayton was mayor of the Central Karoo, and there was a whole lot of renewable energy guys there, and Gayton was saying, we've got a lot of wind, a lot of sun, you've got to invest in the Central Karoo. And then he looked at his phone on the table and it was ringing, and he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to solve a problem of yours, be on your toes. And he picks it up on video, and it's Andile, and he goes, before you say anything, Andile, and don't call me a brother, I'm going to introduce you to a real brother. And the next time you threaten him, you're dealing with me. Meet Rob Hersov. And he turns the video photo to me. And I go, Andile. Yeah, and I go, Andile, at least you got the eye color right. The green-eyed devil. But, he stopped attacking me. He's realized it's pointless. I'm going to keep going. And,
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that he says what he does, the fact that Julius says what he does, the fact that those EFF racists say what they do publicly is beyond disgusting. And I'm calling out black people as racists now. I'm calling the ANC a racist and socialist party because it is.
Well, I mean, if you have 142 race-based laws in this country in 2025, and this is what I try and explain to people. Firstly, and most importantly, we're living in 2025. We're not living in the 70s or the 80s anymore. Secondly, nobody is disputing that apartheid was an atrocious system. I mean, the entire world eventually condemned it, and rightfully so. Now, what is completely insane is that the ANC and the people that lived through that know that you wouldn't want to live through something like that ever again. But then the same organization that liberated South Africa and black Africans and various people suddenly then implement those same policies and try and make it so that it is redress and assisting people and uplifting individuals. But then what happens is you keep that till today, and there's an entire new generation of colored people, Indian people, and white people that never ever had anything to do with apartheid. And you want to create that mindset of having these individuals not have a chip on their shoulder. Because when you are 18 years old and you just finished matric and you aren't going to study and you want to get a job now, suddenly you have to have this paint palette next to you to say, do you qualify or not? And that creates an entire new generation of sort of hatred. And what blows my mind, the point that I'm leading to, is in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have technology that was instant. If you wanted to communicate, it was a letter. It took a day, 2, 3, a week. Now we've got instant communication, and we have this sort of insane, outdated policies that is based on race, and it can easily be solved if you just take race and you replace it with economic standing. You're still going to benefit the vast majority of people that are black individuals, but you're not going to overlook a white, colored, or Indian person that really needs a hand up.
It's as simple as that. The ANC has replaced apartheid with ANC racist apartheid. And
Exactly.
worse, the people who benefit from the DEI as a country, I love that title, that's how Donald Trump sees it. It's framed as diversity, equity, inclusion. It's racism. But you know who's excluded? Whites, coloreds, Indians, and anyone who's from a tribe that isn't
the ruling caste. This is racism, but it only benefits the Mpofus, the Radebes, the Ramaphosa's, all these dreadful BEE, slimy leftist cadre types who say they're communist, hang by the ANC manifesto, but they're really there just to steal. And here's the big difference between apartheid and what they're doing today. In 1985, when the heaviest sanctions were put on South Africa, and the Nat government sat around a table, probably around a braai in the bush, and said, this is unsustainable. The country can't survive. And they were talking about the country. Today, with America about to put whatever they're going to put on us, tariff sanctions, all these gangster ANC people and EFF and MK on the terrorist list, which I think is great, put them on the list. These people just don't care about the country. They just care about themselves. And that's the big difference. And the sooner the poor, unemployed people realize that none of these rules are for them, the ANC is probably worse than apartheid, the sooner they realize, the better. But it's coming too slowly.
I agree. And building on that, of course, is the fact that, the African National Congress has lost a lot of support in the last elections. But if you look at the amount of people that still vote for radical leftist policies, like communism and socialism, that it's always been in that 60 to 65% bracket. So, the good news is that the EFF's imploding. The better news is that MK is going to probably have an internal meltdown because of who the leadership is and, what is actually going on. And that entire political organization is existing around one heartbeat. Because when that heartbeat stops, MK stops. Because do you really think that they will give the leadership role, specifically in the, MK, which is pretty much focused on Zulu, to give it firstly to a woman, and then secondly to give it to the daughter of Zuma that can't speak a lick of Zulu?
What if I told you that I think Zuma's got another 10 years in him? Have you seen him? He jogs upstairs onto the stage. He does his silly toy dance or whatever it is. He's full of energy. There's nothing wrong with him. This guy's going to last another 10 years and may well rule from the grave. So don't count him out. There's a very popular guy. I think Gate and Mab have taken him in popularity at the moment, but he's very popular. He's much loved, not just up country, but also in the Eastern Cape. Because when he was president, he just gave things away to everyone who asked. But he actually did a lot for the Eastern Cape, and people remember that. So don't write off MK. I mean, they're a revolving door. I go one clown in and another clown out. But, if a decent chief operating officer comes in under Zuma, they could pull it together. MK's still a threat, trust me. Still a threat.
I think that the saving grace at the moment is that they've got Floyd Shivambu, and hear me out. I'm not a fan, but I think that he's very good at bringing people together. I mean, you look at what happened with the EFF. While Floyd was there, we actually knew who ran the EFF. It was Floyd, and Julius was just put on a stage and say outrageous shit, promise everything, deliver nothing. Floyd and Lawsy is the ones that were running that. And now I think their saving grace is Floyd. And you can see the internal factions there between Duduzile Zuma and Floyd, because she thought that she was the main Kunane. But now she knows that, no, actually Floyd is second, not her.
He's pushing people out of the way and they're getting upset. So they're spinning out, getting upset. He's messing with the pecking order. And if he can end up being COO, they will get their act together. So don't write them out. Don't write them off. And don't expect Jacob to drop dead. He's not going to. He's actually in terrifyingly good shape.
Well, it's good news, bad news. All right. So very interesting news, obviously, that came out a couple of hours ago is that PEPFAR and USAID has now officially been stopped in South Africa, meaning people with, I think, TB and HIV AIDS won't get that funding anymore. What do you make of that in the grander scheme of things, considering what Cyril Ramaphosa did with penning a letter, etc.? You know, I think all of these things are playing into who will blink first. And this was just another thing by the Trump administration to say we are serious.
Listen, it's terribly sad for the people at the lowest order of, you know, people unemployed, people poor, people who don't know where the next meal is coming from, if they have a meal at all, and the people who are sick with these terrible, debilitating diseases, who are not going to get the medicines. But I wrote an article about 5 days ago, published in Biz News. And by the way, a good article gets probably 3, 4, 5,000 readers. But reading that article as a video on a podcast gets 20, 30, 40,000. So this world has gone away from reading things. So if you ever find a good article, get the author to read it as a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So that article is simply about, you know, whenever I ask people to give money to the Free Market Foundation, to the Patriotic Alliance, to the DA, to the, you know, political party or civic association that's doing a good job, you know, they kind of say, well, I've given so much money to these charities, you know, that I'll see what I can do, but I'm really getting behind my, you know, the school that I'm funding, or my charity, or Africa Tukin, or one of these incredible organizations, and they are incredible. And they say, you know, I don't know, money to the DA or money to the PA. They're doing the wrong thing. They're fixing the problem the ANC's created, education, health. They're not tackling the root cause. And that article, I sent it to a whole lot of people. And I said, you need to read this. And the message was very clear. I mean, they're ducking my calls now. So I've chased away another 10 friends, 20 friends. But the reality is charity is just plugging the plug. And the ANC are laughing at us because we're fixing a problem they created, and they can carry on stealing up above. So the USAID and PEPFAR, in some ways, is actually very good news. America should pull all its aid. And actually, why not put sanctions on South Africa? Any company, any American company, any European company, any Western company doing business with South Africa is in serious trouble with the Americans.
Yeah,
I mean, it needs to be
there's a lot of
heavy.
them.
We need to be heavy. We're not going to fix this country internally, okay? With Enoch Gonaguana trying to sneak in an extra 2% VAT tax hike at the last minute, he got instructed by the Brain Trust. Now, I heard Frans Cronje on an interview today on Biz News talking to Alec Hogg, and Alec Hogg said, you know, what is their Brain Trust thinking about? And Alec was kind of saying, well, is there even a brain trust in the ANC? I think it's even worse than that. I think they don't care. They don't care if people are poorer, have nowhere to go. They don't care, because the worse this country situation and economy and politically, the more they can steal. And it's all about stealing and feeding the cadres. Internally, we've got a Damascene moment here, which is what the hell is Enoch going to deliver on March the 12th if he doesn't cut cadres or privatize state enterprises? And now we have an external sword of Damocles coming, which is America. And the more pressure we can put on Cyril and his useless, racist, socialist morons right now, the better. Getting me wound up, okay? I was trying to be calm on this one.
No. You see, I'm using my psychology background to get you riled up. You know, I want headlines tomorrow. you can wave to all the journalists that's watching this. Hi, everybody. All the wanky Daily Maverick leftists. We'll be talking about you soon. You know, stay calm. We're getting there. Let me use this opportunity quick to say, please be sure to go and subscribe to Rob's YouTube channel. It's called The Unvarnished Truth. The link is in the description below. You can go and check it out and be sure to subscribe. Rob, can I just, like, in a very polite way say fuck you, all right? And the reason I'm saying that is because yesterday I got a notice, 17 years on YouTube. Congratulations, Ronaldo, right? So 142,000 subscribers for 17 years. You've been on this platform for, I think, how long did you say? 2 weeks now? 3 weeks?
3.
And you're already on 44,000 subscribers. So a very polite fuck you to you, Rob. But congratulations on that. So be sure to go and subscribe to Rob. As you can see, Rob doesn't try and be polite. He doesn't try and be what a lot of businesses are in this country, and shame on them and their CEOs that do not want to speak out against policies that will be detrimental to their businesses, like the medical aid industry, etc., etc. So be sure to go and subscribe to Rob. Link is in the description below. But what I want to ask you is, just while we're on this topic, before we move over to, mainstream media, what do you think would happen if South Africa had to get a Doge like what the United States has at the moment? Do you think that they would uncover something that would really just shock people into never ever voting for the ANC ever again?
Yes.
Okay.
The amount of theft is beyond your wildest imaginations. My father sent me a message 3 days ago, and I haven't verified this, but the Civil Aviation Society of South Africa, CASA, he said there are 10 board members each earning R1 million each. Now, imagine if that's true. Someone can check that, please. If that's true, and you extrapolate that across every single association, foundation, organization. I mean, we have 32 ministers in our government and 43 deputy ministers, 75 ministers. Norway has 15. Argentina has 9. Can you imagine the waste of spending and travel and houses in Pretoria and Cape Town? R.W. Johnson raised an incredibly insightful view. He said, South Africa has the second highest number of embassies in the world. What do we need an embassy in Bolivia? I don't even know if we have one, but we probably do. Bolivia, Ecuador, Honduras. And these are places for the scumbag ANC retirees to go and see out the last 4 years of their careers with cars and expense accounts. If we ditched half those embassies and ditched all the costs and people related to it and sold the real estate, the amount of money we would secure, which could be used to pay down debt, would be enormous. Enormous. That's just one small idea.
Do you think it's more than, since 1994, for 31 years, do you think it's more than 1.5 trillion rand?
Easily. I mean, the Guptas stole about that, so you can just add this, you can make it 2 trillion. No, the ANC have no idea. Firstly, they're so stupid and incompetent, all these Madalas, that there's no way they know how to run a sophisticated economy. These are stupid people. Then they employ cadres at the next 2 levels down, who are employed entirely for their loyalty to the ANC with zero competence. Imagine some of these people. Dudu Mayeni, what a moron woman, as chairperson of South African Airways. What does that junior school teacher know about running an airline? She was just there to facilitate the Guptas stealing money from SAA. Bang. That was the only reason. And then you put it across every single state-owned enterprise. And I'll give you a real example. Do you know PRASA? There's Transnet, PRASA. Transnet's the rail, PRASA is the stuff that rolls along the rail.
Yeah.
PRASA hired Horsey Matthews to run PRASA. Now, I know Horsey really well. Known him for 10 years. He's Zulu royalty. His sister is Nalodi Pandor, who's, very well-spoken, useless, anti-Semitic ex-head of foreign affairs, ex-head of education. Talks a big game, completely useless. Retired, though, thank goodness. Horsey is her brother. Yeah, Horsey's her brother. I love Horsey. We've disagreed on a huge amount of things, but deep down, great guy, smart guy, and we respect for each other. And Horsey gets hired into PRASA. They wouldn't let him through the door because he discovered so much irregularity, so much corruption, and he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to fix PRASA. They wouldn't let him through the door. He then sued, got reappointed. They still wouldn't let him take the job. They're hiding how much they're stealing. And the security guys that PRASA were using were all part of the con, because Horsey tried to bring in an external security company so he at least could trust them, couldn't get them through the door. So the security are hired by these gangsters so they can continue to steal. And if you break the rail network, who benefits? The lorry mafia, the taxi mafia. If you break turbines in Eskom, who benefits? The guy selling low yield coal, the coal mafia, and the guys importing diesel, the diesel mafia. The ANC breaks so they can steal.
And a good example of this is ship-to-ship bunkering. You know that they don't pay anything at Ngquga in Port Elizabeth. They literally get the ship to go out. They do ship-to-ship, or they do bunkering, and then they come back, and the municipality doesn't benefit from that at all. But I mean, that is just small Inyana skeletons right there. What I wanted to ask you...
Taxi industry. I got a very interesting WhatsApp today from someone. I wish I'd learned the numbers. But he said no one in the taxi industry pays tax.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
If taxi industry paid tax, I think you could fund, you could pay down some massive amount of our debt. Just the taxi industry, but they don't pay tax.
And also the small spaza shops. I mean, I think they estimated it to be roughly about between 45 to 50 billion annually. That hole that we have to plug, that they want to do the 2% interest, that is pretty much what can be covered there. And to answer your question, I think what happened is the 2% VAT was literally, they thought they would get away with it, but they didn't. But the compromise was always 1% VAT increase, and then a wealth tax that they will include. So that
the wealth tax that's not on the table.
Is it not on the table?
From my friends in the cabinet, they said Business Day has no idea what it's talking about. Just floating a boat there.
Yeah.
So what can Enoch do? He can go and get another loan from the IMF. But remember, America sits on the board of the World Bank and the IMF, and they can just say no more loans to South Africa. We're also reaching our loan ceiling. If we hit the loan ceiling, the IMF have every right to come in and force, which would be good, by the way, force free enterprise and property rights and reverse, EWC, reverse BEE. So they don't want to do that. They're terrified of their moronic ideology being reversed. What can he do? Cut costs, privatize state-owned enterprises. He has to do this. Has to. Now, if you look at aviation, I think Enoch would. He's just not courageous. He's might be quite a good guy. He's just not strong enough to take on, and I won't call him the brain trust because there's no brain in ANC. He's not strong enough to take on the monsters in the shadows.
Yeah. All right, so a quick thing. We do super chats here. So SV, thank you for the 140 Rand super chat saying Rob for Supreme Emperor of the Cape Republic. Let me get your take on that if you don't mind. Like, what is your take on, and by the way, if you don't want to answer something, don't answer it. What is your view on Cape secession?
I think it's not impossible. It's improbable. It's highly unlikely. Firstly, you have to have, I think, 51% of the people that live in the Cape voting for it, even for the process to begin. And I think they do polls all the time, and they say they've got 51. But I mean, the reality is, until you do a proper referendum, you don't know. And until the Patriotic Alliance, which is the second most important party in the Western Cape, gets behind Cape secession, well, actually the DA has to as well. It's just the VFF plus. Until FF plus, DA, and Patriotic Alliance all swing behind it, it's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. So I think if in the next election, 2029, Jacob Zuma is elected with a mandate with 51, at that point, I think the DA and Gayton will get together with the FF plus and say, Cape independence, let's go. But as that's unlikely to happen, MK is not going to get 51. No one's going to get over 30, by the way. Ever again. Yeah. Unless a nice centre-right party's formed. Half the DA, plus Patriotic Alliance, plus FF plus Nkatha, plus ACDP. Bang, they could swing towards free enterprise. So on Cape secession, I always talk about it and raise it, but it's just to remind the ANC they don't know how to run a city, a province, or a country. The DA does. It just pisses them off. So I like doing that. So, it's not going to happen. And I call him Mulder's head of the FF Plus now, and he's a rock star. I mean, he is the only adult in the room. My wife said that first, by the way, and everyone's using that expression. Credit Kate herself for calling Corner the only adult in the room. But what we really need is what the DA and Jordan Hill Lewis are saying: federalization. Push decisions to the provinces. Why shouldn't the rail network in the Cape be run by the Cape? It'll work. Trains will run again and they'll run on time. And the fact that trains won't work ever again in ANC-run municipalities, maybe the morons who still vote ANC will work that out eventually.
Exactly. Jock Hubert gave a 35 Rand super chat saying, keep up the good fight, Rob, with 2 stars. I don't know why he didn't include 3 stars. I'll speak to him after about that.
I was only a first lieutenant, not a captain. That's why he's sending me a secret signal. It's a military thing.
Okay, shit's getting deep over here. I like it. And then SD Blade gave a 35 Rand saying, could Rob maybe start a Doge SA? Oh, we did speak about it, but look, I mean, there is some similarities between Rob and Elon. I mean, they speak their minds. They always awake, they never sleep. Rob is working on creating a rocket company in South Africa to get us to the no, I'm joking, he isn't, would you enter politics, not necessarily as being a politician, or you can give me your opinion on that, but would you, let's say something happens, and I know that you're a big fan of Gayton, right? So let's say Gayton blows everything out of the water in the next national election, and for some reason he becomes the president of South Africa. Would you be his Elon? Would you do that?
Yes.
Okay. We have it on tape, everybody.
I'll tell you a funny story. I happened to be in Dubai the same time as Gayton. And I had my buddy Nick French there, and Charles Soler was there, and we hung out for 2-3 hours talking about things. We actually went for a walk through a shopping mall. I mean, I never get a chance to do that. Yeah. I don't know what the price of milk is. Like George W. Bush, I don't know the price of milk, okay? Yeah. And we took a walk through shopping, talking away. And I said to Gayton, I said, hypothetically, for fun, if you were president, what role would you want for me? And he said, I was going to say Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of International, but I actually want you to be the Minister of keeping my feet on the ground. He said, I want you to be available on call 24/7 to tell me if I'm getting ahead of myself, if I'm losing my bearings, and to make sure my feet are grounded and I'm the same Gayton I've always been. And I said, okay, I'll take that job as long as I can do it from a beach somewhere. Yeah. I was in London 3 days later. Okay, I've got a South African and a British passport, and I met with Nigel Farage, and he said to me, "I believe you've got a British passport. Yeah. Why don't you stand as a Reform MP?" I said, "Not if I have to live in the UK." And he said, "Well, I'll then make you my Minister of Foreign Affairs." I said, "Can I be a Minister of Foreign Affairs for 2 countries at the same time?"
That's amazing. Like thousands of miles apart and same offer, pretty much. So I wanted to ask you, let's briefly just pivot to mainstream media. I want to get to, what AfriForum and Solidariteit did. I think that what they did was, a brilliant move to get there before the GNU could get their act together. But that is where I want to end up. So maybe if you can put your answer towards the end, speaking about your take on AfriForum and Solidariteit doing what they did. But how do you feel the media, and I'm talking about mainstream media, how they covered the Trump executive order, the information that came out from there, and then, because there was clearly a sort of a discussion between alternative media and mainstream media, and what is factual and what is not factual. And then eventually now we see the meltdown that's happening with them going so far as allowing people on their programs to say that AfriForum and Solidariteit committed treason. So, and that is being put out there for millions of people to listen to.
Look, AfriForum and Solidariteit did the right thing. I was with Ernst Root at the ARC conference in London, and he said to me, "I'm flying to the US now. I'm meeting Tucker Carlson." I said, "Good for you. Give him hell. Bring him back. Make sure he focuses on South Africa." And I was interviewed by Dave Rubin, the Rubin Report. So I'm going live on Rubin Report at some point soon. So we're going to get the message out there. There's no escape for these ANC gangsters and what they're doing. But I support fully AfriForum and Solidariteit, fully. and what Ernst Roots has done, Cully's done, and mainstream media can go and get stuffed. I don't follow mainstream media. You know, people send me News 24 articles, and I say, I think it's disgusting you even read the ANC arse-licking Adrian Basson nonsense. I refuse to read the article. Just tell me what it says. I will not read News 24, and none of you should. I don't subscribe to IOL, although I actually, in a weird way, kind of prefer Iqbal Surf to Adrian Basson. Don't get your psychology brain into that.
Yeah, I don't need to. I can just say, well, my political career was destroyed by IOL, so that's my issue with them.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're monsters, but I think they're on the back foot big time. I think Iqbal's business, AO Technologies, was suspended from the JSE today, so he's toast.
Yay.
Yay. And then Daily Maverick, what a nasty, pernicious, little, evil, lefty, wanky publication that is. Anyone who's on the hair you should get the free version and read it, because sometimes the article's okay.
Yeah.
But their approach to Trump, their approach to Israel, their approach to capitalism, their approach to business is just nasty and evil. I mean, just Daily Maverick.
Yeah.
So I don't follow mainstream media. I don't watch SABC. You know, I just get it all secondhand on WhatsApp.
Do you pay your
messages to me.
TV license, Rob?
I don't think I've ever done that. Why would I do that? I don't watch the damn thing.
Sorry.
Actually, I'm probably paying way too much, probably direct debit. Let me check. Actually, forget it. I'm not going to check.
By the way, if you don't see me, it's because my phone decided to freeze up. So you are on the screen, and people can just hear me, because people are here for you anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, you are a bit of a blur then.
Yeah, I always have been.
So let's talk Doge. Come on, I've got a few funny stories for you, actually.
Go for it. It's your show. I'm just here for the ride.
I mean, I really shouldn't tell you this one, but because I'm now only looking at myself here, I'm wearing this
You're just
beautiful
speaking
blue
to yourself.
shirt.
There's nobody else watching, Rob.
My favorite companion. I was wearing this blue shirt this morning, and I had to go down and do some content at the Free Market Foundation content, where I was asking people to donate because a mysterious donor is giving 50% more to them in money, any money that comes in before the end of tomorrow. So I was saying, I'm putting up money, come on, everyone else. And I'm always a bit of in a rush, bit of ADHD rush. And I'd spilled some food on my shirt. My wife said, hold on, you can't go and do content with a shirt looking like that. And she got one of those lint rollers. I should not tell the story. I was standing there being lint rolled by my wife. I really got turned on. So anyway, I was late. I was late to the studio. For anyone that fancies me, lint rollers, that seems to do the trick.
Ignore the lint chocolate. Just get the lint roller,
Oh my
you know.
God. How did I tell that story?
Oh, that's brilliant.
So Doge, yeah. Here's the problem with the Doge South Africa is, you know, I said in some content recently, fire 200,000 public servants. But they are all the primary voters for the ANC. So how is the ANC ever going to do that? It's going to have to be me, Gayton, you know, an Axeman, a Javier Milei. And to have that job, you've got to have a Trump behind you, a Javier Milei behind you, you know, a voter population behind you. You can't do it in absentia. And that's why I think Enoch knows what he's got to cut, but he's going to get cut if he tries to do it. You know, in 1992 in Sweden, they had 100% income tax. They had pretty much everything owned by state-owned enterprises. The beer company was owned by the government. And nobody wanted to live in Sweden. It was a miserable, depressing place that had bad food, bad weather, and very attractive women.
Of course.
And in 1992, the government of the time looked at each other and went, this isn't working. Socialism doesn't work.
Yes.
And they all said, we need to change direction, 180 degrees, bang. And the next day they said, we're going to privatize all the state-owned enterprises. We're going to let the currency float freely. It, you know, went 50% bad. And we're going to make it easy to start businesses. We're going to lower taxes. We're going to encourage business people to come to Sweden. Fast forward 30 years. Sweden is one of the leading tech countries of the world. Foreigners are there aplenty. There are restaurants of every country and every nation. The food is superb. The weather's still shit, and the women are gorgeous. And the country is booming. I mean, there are, I think, more tech billionaires out of Sweden per capita than any country in the world. It's a huge success story. But they had the courage to stand up and say, socialism doesn't work. Let's go the other way. Who in the ANC has the spine, the balls, the courage, or the intellect to do that? There isn't anyone.
Well, the one thing that I can tell you is, look, I mean, I went from a councillor to a member of parliament. And yes, I was a weekend special, but I was there, I got the certificate, and nobody can take it away. The thing that I've noticed is the big thing for me was always the way that I judge whether, you know, an individual is there ethically, is to see how they load their plate up with food. And what I saw at council level was that they would stack their plate up 2 stories, 3 stories. And the same thing happened in Parliament. And that is the moment that I realized, okay, we're sitting now with individuals that in essence were loyal to the ANC for longer. And therefore, that is why they're in Parliament. It's not because they add more value. It's just because they're more popular because they've been within the ANC for longer. I'm not sure if you've picked that up as well.
100%. I mean, for Fikile Mbalula, how many positions has he bounced from one to the next?
I think he's been
Doing
he's had 3 ministries: transport, sport, and something else. I don't know. Can't remember.
And you've been useless in all of them.
Well, he's the most professional arse licker I've ever known in my life, hands down.
Yeah.
That is why, I mean, remember he was Zuma, and the moment he saw that Cyril was going to win it, he went, Cyril.
I mean, he's hopeless. He's hopeless. They are hopeless. I mean, how do we explain to the voting population that they have no chance to get jobs, no chance to have any future for them or their children if they keep voting in ANC, MK, EFF? The only way to do that is to create a political entity that speaks to them. And the DA doesn't. The DA, I credit the DA. Helen Zille is a hero in my view. John's doing his best. He can. He's not the right leader. You know, Jordan Hill-Lewis and Chris Pappas and Leon Schreiber and Dion Jordan, excellent. And Nicholas Niati and Ivan Mayer, superb, great people. But the party ain't gonna run this country. We need a new center-right organization. And I really do think it's Patriotic Alliance and Carter ACDP and FF Plus comes together. And of them, Gayton's the leader.
Call it the Republican Party of South Africa, RPSA.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, or South Africa First.
Yeah.
South Africa First.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my view. And, you know, I'm never going to be a politician. I'm never going to be a minister. I can't sit still in a meeting listening to rubbish for 20 minutes.
You're lucky
benevolent
if it's 20
dictator.
minutes.
Yeah, benevolent dictator, yes. But that's maybe it's maybe for 100 days, 100 executive orders, and I move on. At best. But we desperately need a Doge. Oh, my God. The cutting that you need to do. You know, I explained this on Biz News. I don't want to bore listeners who listen to
No,
both.
it's fascinating. Please continue.
There are businesses called turnaround businesses. And these are the most hard-ass finance guys I've ever met. Okay? Once you get to know them, they're actually nice, normal people. But if they're on the wrong side, they're terrifying. And I had a business called Sportal that was the #1 sports internet business ranked by the Sunday Times, or the front cover of the Business Sunday Times, #1 internet business in Europe. And I got on a plane the next day with Steve Nuttall, a buddy working for me. I said, well, we're dead now. We're cursed. It's downhill. And I was right. We were bust a year later. You know, the internet crash came and we were too far ahead of ourselves and collapsed.
Yeah.
But I ended up laying off and paying everyone's salaries. That's the one thing I'm super proud of. But in the process, I got a call from the Lander brothers, the company, two Lander brothers from Glasgow. And they called up and said, we'd like to talk to you about attempting a turnaround. And I said, I'll take anything, come. And they moved into the offices for a month. And this is how turnaround companies operate. First, they buy the business for 5 cents on the dollar. Okay? They say to the equity owners, you've lost your money, you're going to have a little stub of 5%. I own 95. At best, you might get your money back in 10 years' time. Take it or leave it, sign. The first thing they do is call the debt holders and say, your debt is worth zero unless you accept my terms. My terms are no interest for the next 5, 10 years. And maybe when we're profitable and successful, you get your money back. Sign here, bang. The debt's out of the way, equity's out of the way. They're in charge. Then they fire the management. They say, you guys, whatever you did right or wrong got us into this position. Ciao.
Yeah.
That cost's gone. Middle managers, half of you, gone. All perks, gone. I remember him cornering me, founder, and saying, by the way, when you travel to New York, what hotel do you stay in? And I said, no, I stay at a friend's house. He said, okay, you're lucky because I would have cut your every single perk you had.
Yeah.
He was right, though. It was cut everything. No one's allowed a credit card. Bang. This is the first week. And then they sell off or close down the divisions or products or services that they think will never make money, and they focus on the core product and focus. And if things work out, they make a lot of money and others get their money back. South Africa needs that. We need a turnaround expert. We need someone to come in and go, right, this week, state-owned enterprises are all being privatized, every single one. We're going to shrink the cabinet ministers down from 32 to 10 and add a new one called the Doge, the Department of Gate and Efficiency. Sorry, government efficiency. You cannot add a single regulation unless you get rid of 5. You deregulate by default, and which is what Trump is doing. And you just slice, cut, fire, and break. The currency, the rand, probably goes to 50. What can you do? But suddenly debt comes down, and it comes down fast. Inflation comes down, it comes down fast. Foreign investors go, this is good. He's doing the right thing. This is the time to invest. Let's buy things cheap. Money pours in. And the thing turns around. In 1 year, you can go from 0.8% economic growth to 3%. And people start getting jobs. We could turn this country around so fast, but not with the ANC in charge. So take a business approach to South Africa, fixable.
So the two things I think that would cause a little bit of problems there, and maybe you can speak about it, is that we've become a nanny state. We've got, 28 million grant recipients. So I think that was a clever ploy by the ANC, is make people poor and give them as little as you can, and then they'll be loyal to you forever, because they've convinced people that it's not taxpayers that pay the grants, it's the ANC that pays the grants. The second thing is, do you think that this is a long-term play by the ANC for that close-knit group that was involved many years ago, with creating the ANC, establishing it, fighting apartheid? I mean, we're talking about a grouping of, let's call it 50 to 75 people and their families, obviously, that has grown from there. So do you think it's a national democratic revolution for the benefit of these 75 people and their families, and they don't care about the country?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So what do you think?
And we should name the families. We should name the families.
Yeah. What do you think we do with the dependency on the state? And I mean, look, I know that jobs will eventually, lead to people getting off the grants, but how do we do that with the plan that you want to, sort of envision us as implementing?
It's very easy to do if you have the will at the top and the support at the bottom. If we can get our center-right grouping to 55% of the country, and we have the voter population behind us, it's very easy to turn around. And nobody's going to lose their social grant immediately. Yeah. But when they get jobs, they won't need the social grant. They'll have dignity, a job, and they'll be into the formal economy. So this will happen over time. What Javier Milei in Argentina did was he removed all the middlemen in the grant system and was able to actually give the people who have grants a little bit more. So instead of removing social grants, he actually improved the system, which allowed people to receive slightly more in their social grants and then others to get jobs, which is exactly how you exit people from dependency and give them a job and dignity. We can do that. This country is so fixable. I'll give you an example of aviation quickly. South African Airways was the best airline in Africa, one of the best in the world.
Yes.
It then got ANC'd. They
Mm-hmm.
turned it into an employment agency and bankrupted it and stole. Okay, collapsed. What happened was FlySafair, Airlink, Semair stepped into the breach. We're all flying happily. Nothing much has changed for people who fly.
Yeah.
There's been privatization by default. You can easily privatize these state-owned enterprises. Private sector, foreign direct investment will step in and do a better job.
Well, it was the same
So
with Eskom.
why
I mean,
not just
Eskom
do
was
it
also the
anyway?
best.
I'll talk to you about Eskom. It's quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
We didn't have load shedding for a long time. Okay, it's come back. Andre de Ruyter was never going to be able to fix Eskom. And Gayton said so. He said, how is this guy's good at operations? How is he ever going to tackle the Eskom mafia? Okay. What no one has noticed is that Cyril was so desperate not to be the president that let the lights go out that he was forced to hire a top management team into Eskom and not cadres. Mteto Nyati is a professional. He didn't want the job. He's a non-political man. He's a super high-level professional. And he took the job as chairman of Eskom because he said, I owe this to my country. He then cleared the board of, nonsense people and ballerinas and nutcases. The majority of the people on the board of Eskom are now engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those engineers, he promoted to chief executive, Dan Murakane. These guys, non-political, have done such an amazing job at Eskom. Trust me, they've almost fixed operations. They've got power generation going, transmissions being approved. They fired 100 cadres without saying a word because they didn't want to make it a big issue. And they've made a hell of a big difference. There are South Africans that can fix these things. Now, Eskom debt's still out of control. Electricity is too expensive. But these are two proper executives. And the chief of staff, who went to Michael House as well, Tulo, I've got to make a shout out to him. Awesome, awesome guy. So shout out to them. We need more of these people in South Africa running the state-owned enterprises and less cadres and ANC loyalists. And we can do it.
Just for some comic relief, how does it feel to be the second most popular Michael House alumni after the Kiffness?
Yeah, no, Kiffles is a friend of mine. What a lekker guy. I must say, I think one of his best ones was eating the dogs, eating the cats.
Yeah,
I said it to all my Republican friends in America, and they loved it. They told me that Trump actually loved it.
yeah, that's
So the
amazing.
Kiffness he's a national treasure. I mean, he really is, and he's standing up.
He is,
He's
and
standing.
I'm very happy about that. I mean, I have to say, in my 17 years on YouTube and on social media, the only guy that ever managed to kill me with kindness was him. I felt like such an tool after attacking him and belittling him because he just killed you with kindness, and that is the person he is. It's not an act. He is that guy. He is that genuine, friendly guy that really cares about the country, and he cares about he cares about South Africa. He cares about his family, and he wants what's best for it.
And he wasn't scared on calling Imtiaz Suleiman an anti-Semite, which he is. Kiffness took him on. I often get asked to speak at various schools, and I was deplatformed by the Bishop's Old Boys, which is great. So I don't have to give bishops any money ever again.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But I always tease Hilton and St. John's and Bishops and St. Andrews boys by saying, I can name probably 100 famous old Michael House boys. There's Wilbur Smith, there's John van der Riet, there's Kiffness, there's the Sackos, the owners of Nando's. I mean, go for hours, okay? Hours and hours and hours. And I said, but if you talk about the most famous Bishop's Old Boys, I mean, there's the Ackerman family, the people that own Pick and Pay, and you just run out of names. I'm sure there are more famous ones, but no one's done their homework like I have.
Exactly. Just a quick thing. Look, I think we've got another 10 minutes. And for the people watching, thank you. We've got 1,500 people tuning in. Be sure to smash that like button. I'm sorry that I'm not on screen. My iPhone, by the way, decided to just pack up. So don't blame Android, blame Apple. There's an interesting super chat here from Crocotopia, a £5 super chat saying, Rob, you need to bring the next ARC conference to South Africa. Now, I don't think that there's anybody that is probably more capable of doing that than you.
So I'll answer that. So ARC was unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen, the first year was 1,200 people. This was 4,400. And I never seen a conference where for 3 days in an auditorium packed, barely a person left in a single speech. There were like 4,400 people leaning forward. I had the hair on my neck standing up half the time. It was so unbelievable. And I got to meet Konstantin Kisin, Dave Rubin, Douglas Murray, Oz Guinness, the lot. But I also met the founder of it, Paul Marshall of Marshall Wace, and Baroness Pippa Stroud. And I've got a Zoom call coming up next week with Pippa, where my topic is bringing ARC to South Africa.
Here we go.
But I think 3 days will not happen. There are not enough people here for it to be financially viable.
Yeah.
I think we can do a day and a night. And of the 5 or 6 biggest speakers, we've got to get at least 2, if not 3. So I'm hoping we can get a Konstantin Kisin and a Jordan Peterson or a Douglas Murray or, to come.
I think
and then and then we bring the others, and then we get a couple of local speakers and do a full day and a night. I'm thinking if I can get Alec Hogg of BizNews to agree, he's got a conference September in Hermanus, like 17th or something. But he could do, instead of a 1 day, a 2 day, and we do a 1 day ARC, so 3 days in Cape Town or Hermanus.
That, because I mean the spin-off for BizNews is also fantastic.
So that's, I'm glad you asked the question about ARC. I mean, I'd love to get it here, but if not, guys, let's all go in June next year, or May, June, whenever it is. I'm going to go again.
Yeah, you see, Rob, this is where your money is now starting to show. It's a little bit expensive to fly to the UK. I'm just gonna throw.
I bought 10 people tickets this year, so I'm sure I can do 20.
Make it your goal for charity next year and do 100. Fill a plane, okay? I'm just joking. Berto says, Ronaldo, great interview. Rob, you are doing great things. Thank you. We need more of you. And I think that is the sentiment. I mean, look, we're heading towards the end of this interview. I'd love to have you on again whenever you're available.
Happy to.
Tell me, what is the one thing that we can do that will immediately change South Africa in a way that every single South African can feel it?
I think we need to protect whistleblowers. I had this mad idea yesterday. People call me brave, courageous, but I'm nothing like a whistleblower. I have got money. I can be the last chopper out of Saigon. I can't be deplatformed more than I've been already. I've lost millions of dollars, but I've got lots more. I'm doing what I feel I have to do, but the really courageous people are whistleblowers. We need to form an organization where if anyone is a whistleblower, and at the moment they get deplatformed, fired, and often killed. If anyone is a legit whistleblower and come public, we need 10,000 people to volunteer to protect that person, their home, their livelihood, and rally around them so that 24/7 they've got people protecting them, loving them, looking after them, supporting them, amplifying what they're saying, and ensuring that if they lose their jobs, they get paid. I would like nothing more than to see that, because these people, I've heard whistleblowers say to me, I wish I'd never done it. And that breaks my heart, because the legal system doesn't give a shit, doesn't give a... So that was just a yesterday thought. I wish people would give more money to the political parties like Patriotic Alliance, DA, FF+, really, $100, $200. And between elections, give to Free Market Foundation, Institute of Race Relations, and podcasters like you and others like you who need the money, who do this every day and need the funding. By the way, I'll say it on air. On March the 6th, I'm hopefully getting a big financial hit, but it may not happen, okay? And I've done a list. There's some people who I've known for 10, 12 years who've never asked me for money and who've been almost struggling to pay their rent and mortgage and who've been very kind to me. I'm going to help them out. But I'm also going to give money to you and other podcasters in this kind of area as a thank you.
Wow, that
I want to see what you're doing amplified. And I'd love to see what you're doing communicated to all South Africans. And that's why I've gone on Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, Penwell, and Mac G. And we should all try to do it. I've got Kifness to agree to go on Sizwe Mpofu Walsh. We need more wealth creators to talk about capitalism and say why it's a good thing to the broader population. I don't know if I answered the question there. It's a tough question.
So you did, and it's actually a brilliant answer, because I don't think it, and that is what makes, I think, you unique, is that you approach it from a left field. Like, who would think
right field. Right field.
Yeah, well, center field. Let's call it center right field, right? But yeah, look, no, anything left is dangerous these days. What I want to just end off by saying is I think that it's brilliant that you mentioned that. And look, thank you for what you're also doing for, putting people... look, you whether or not you've got a big following on YouTube, I think you are one of the individuals that are bigger than a single platform. When Rob speaks, people listen. And I have to say that the interview, strangely enough, that made me realize that you were really passionate and serious as a thinker in South Africa, is the Mpofu Walsh interview. That was the last place that I thought that I would get a kind of feeling about Rob that made me feel positive about this country. And it's strange that on an individual whose platform is very, leftist and want to drive that narrative, you still managed to outperform him on that platform, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. But for your star to shine in that way. And I think that is what is so unique about this offering, is that you can get in touch with those individuals. Like, I know, for instance, the crazy people, let me put it, the crazy fans, the fans that are crazy about Mpofu, will never ever come on a live stream or see Ronaldo Gous. But because this platform is created, people get to hear different opinions. And that is where the future is heading, is that you get your information not from News 24, Daily Maverick, you get your news from podcasters, from people that create YouTube videos, etc.
Do you know Concerned Citizen?
Yes, brilliant.
Katlego. I spoke to her for the first time 2 hours ago.
And what a brilliant person, right?
I mean, she is a level above me. She is so beautifully spoken, insightful, compassionate. What a woman. And I call her, I said, where do you live? She said, I live in Springs. What do you do? She said, I've got a job in a marketing company and I do this on the side. Oh, are you married? Yeah, husband, 2 young boys. And what does your husband do? No, he lost his job last year, so he does my production and editing. And I
he's
went,
doing
wow.
a phenomenal job, by the way.
They are doing a phenomenal job, the 2 of them. And I said, so how could I help you? And she said, well, I don't have time to do after work. And we don't have the money to do shorts from my long form and longer stuff. So I said, I'm sure somebody will volunteer. Someone will put their hand up and said, I've got some time. I'm happy to take her content. I'll do the shorts for her. So maybe someone on the show will reach out to Ronaldo and we'll put them in touch to help her create shorts. And then she said, but I want to really up my game, because the EFF are being very successful going to schools, communities, and producing communists. They're doing it daily in and daily out at schools. These young people graduate as hard-boiled communists. And we need to go there and tell them that that is wrong. Capitalism and free markets and free speech is the only way. And I need to be doing that. And I said, well, you need to be doing that full time. She said, I would love to be doing it full time. I just don't have the financial resources. I said, we need to speak.
Exactly.
So, she's on our side. She needs help. You're doing this, as a career. There are others in the area. I'm not doing my YouTube channel for financial returns. The money I get, I'm hiring people to do a better
stop
job.
Lying.
Then
I'm
going to give it away.
Almost bankrupt, and the reason you're doing that is you want to get that sweet YouTube money. Be honest.
Yeah, you notice I've lost a lot of weight.
You need to eat.
Ozempic.
You need to eat, Rob.
That's Ozempic. I'm putting on muscle mass. So,
yeah.
What an amazing woman, and what an amazing job you're doing. I mean, really, I salute people like you, because I've got the resources to do it, and you guys do it because it's your calling, and that's a level above.
I appreciate that, and thanks for what you're doing, Rob. I mean, look, like we've seen in South Africa, there's not a lot of business owners or individuals that are relatively wealthy or very wealthy that speak out, because it's better to be friends with these politicians than to be the enemy. And thank you for what you're doing in that regard. And I have to say, in paying it forward, there is a brilliant YouTube channel on here, or a person, Joey Emilio, fantastic comedian, and he said that he's tried to reach out to you because he wants to host you. So can you make a commitment for me that you will appear on Joey Emilio's show in the future?
So I'll just give you a quick confession, okay?
Yeah.
I love public speaking. I love interviews, love podcasting. I love all this stuff. But I'm dying to try stand-up comedy.
Okay. So Joe is your opportunity there. Because Joe is a comedian, and I know that they do a lot of comedian shows, live streams and stuff. So maybe you can write a 5 or 10 minute segment and do it on the show.
I've done it.
Okay.
But I think I've got to do it in London, because I think I've got to do it when no one knows who I am.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit harder.
My wife's begging me. She doesn't like me doing this sort of stuff anyway, but she's got behind me because she loves South Africa and believes we're doing a good thing. But she said, please don't do stand-up comedy. I know where she's coming from.
Well, look,
Go down in flames.
Yeah, even if you go down in flames, it's still glorious, because you've achieved it and you've put it off of your bucket list.
And I laugh at my own jokes, so I'll probably find the evening funny anyway if no one else does.
Well, that's a good start. All right.
Ronaldo,
Rob,
thank you, buddy. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, sorry for the video going, but I mean, I think it's just, I feel like I'm almost like your conscience telling you,
You're like this blur, this like exciting, weird psychological blur that's keeping me on the straight and narrow. I love it.
Listen, I'm going to let you go, Rob. Thank you so much. Everybody is saying thank you for this, very insightful
thanks to your viewers.
chat.
Thanks, everyone.
And keep up the great work, Rob, and we'll definitely chat soon. But yeah. Thank you, and I'll let you off, and then I'll just deal with the super chats. Thank you very much, bud. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers. All right, everybody. That's the blurry me that you can see. Once again, the technology has let me down, but I think that was a brilliant interview. Thank you for every super chat and for like and for every input that you guys gave. I'll just deal with the super chats that came through here towards the end. Chris Wyatt gave a $5 super chat saying Ronaldo and his rich white people toys, Apple bleh. Yeah, okay, you made your point. Andre Apple Grin gave a 35 Rand stripper chat. Well, I can do the stripper chat now because you're not going to see me, so that'll work out well. Thank you for that, Andre. Mr. Nobody gave a 70 Rand saying, did you guys see what happened to the live stream when you hit the like button? No, what happens? Didn't see that. Hein David gave a 100 Rand super chat saying, thanks, Rob. Dankie, Rob. Let's form a party of podcasters. I'm not going to speak too much about that, but watch this space. That's all I'm going to say over there. Henk Klopper, thank you for the 100 Rand super chat. And then SV, thank you for the 35 Rand saying, bye, Rob, KFC. Yeah, he needs it. You can see he's getting a little bit skinny over there. And then Tony Nagy gave a 10 Canadian dollar super chat saying, blessings, Ronaldo. Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. And Joe, I hope that I helped you with, getting Rob on your show. I tried my best over there. I think that was a very insightful live stream. I really did appreciate Rob's input, and I think that we can see that we're dealing with somebody that's genuine and that really cares about this country. So, you know me, if I felt that that wasn't the case, I would tell you. But I do see, Rob is very passionate about this country. He doesn't need to make more money. He's got more than enough. And I'll say it. I believe that he is South Africa's Elon Musk. I think that he's brilliant. I think that he's passionate. And, when he's got something to say, I think it's worth listening to. So be sure to go and subscribe to Rob's channel. The link is in the description below. You can go and do that. And then, when you see his stuff, share it. And just comment on it and let Rob know what your thoughts are. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this very technically difficult live stream, but we managed to get it done. Yeah, Rob Hersoff has got fuck you money. Exactly. And that is what makes it amazing, that he's willing to actually, you know, engage with what is happening in South Africa. I mean, he's got more than enough money just to go and settle in a very nice beach resort and not have to worry about what every South African is facing, but he cares enough to not go and live in paradise. He lives in South Africa because he loves it and he cares for it. Guyver UK, thank you for the £5 super chat saying booking the flights tomorrow. By the way, my dad shares your birthday. Well, there we go. Awesome stuff, and it's very good to hear, and I hope that he's going to enjoy KZN, wasn't it, Guyver? Importantly, though, you have to go to God's Window. I don't care if it's going to cost you an extra 5 or 10 hours worth of driving. You have to go to God's Window. Mpumalanga is the most beautiful province in South Africa, but it's also, you know, got the most potholes. So good luck with that, and thank you for that generous super chat. It's greatly appreciated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. I've got a little bit of a surprise for you. I haven't created the live stream yet, but I've got Kali Kriel on tomorrow at 2 p.m. Let me just confirm that quick here. I'll be able to tell you now. Let me just find Kali over here. What time was it? It was 2 p.m. Yes. So I'm going to create this after this live stream, and then you can just set a reminder to tune in tomorrow. But at 2 p.m. I'll be speaking to Kali Kriel from AfriForum and talk about what they are doing in the United States and why they are causing so much cuck. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. That's the only time, obviously, he's available to speak. So be sure to tune in for that and set a reminder once it goes. Within the next hour, it'll be up for you to set a reminder. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. It's greatly appreciated. And thank you for all the super chats. Thanks for all the likes. Consider becoming a member to this channel. You can do so by clicking the join button below this video. And if you don't want to do that, then you can just subscribe. That will be, a commitment that you can make. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
Know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I wear my massacre.